Roman, my friend, did you know that 2023, the upcoming year, is going to be the year of the mid-size truck?
I did know that, Andre, because there have been a lot of videos promoting the new mid-size trucks that are coming out next year. So in this podcast, we're going to give you kind of a roadmap to what's happening in the small truck world. And we're going to talk about, well, why don't you tell us what trucks we're going to be talking about?
Yeah, so a lot of action is going to happen in this space. That's why we're doing this podcast.
Sounds vaguely dirty, Andre.
No, it's not dirty. It's about trucks. So first of all, we have some new information about the 2023 Chevy Colorado,
Yes.
right, and GMC Canyon. Recently, GM published GM Fleet Order Guide with some extra information about these trucks. They're coming early next year, in the first half of next year. Of course, Ford Ranger is going to be redesigned. Toyota Tacoma is going to be redesigned. And then I want to ask you about your experience at Honda, because you just saw the new Honda Pilot, because it could also translate to the next Ridgeline.
Yes, there is a little bit of news there that we can certainly discuss. But before we get to this topic, I've got a bone to pick, Andre. It's a new segment calling I've Got a Bone to Pick.
Okay. What bone? Is it with me?
No, it's not with you.
Oh.
It's actually, I want your opinion on this, and I want our viewers' opinion on this as well. And that is, I was listening to our friends over at Inside EV. They were talking about trucks, Andre.
Okay.
And they spent an hour comparing and debating which truck buyers should buy. And Tom Malagny, who's become a friend of mine, so hi Tom if you're listening, had actually gotten 3 trucks in his driveway, which I thought was excellent.
Yeah,
so,
dude, I also heard about that.
Yeah,
Yes.
so he bought a Lightning, like we had.
Yes.
He also bought a Rivian,
Yes.
R1T, and then GM lent him a Hummer. So he had what I would consider a mid-size truck, which is what we're going to be talking about, right? The Rivian. Now, I know the Rivian's kind of weird. It kind of falls in between mid-size and full-size.
Sure.
But interior-wise, and basically, I would categorize as a mid-size truck. Then, the Lightning obviously is a full-size truck.
Yeah.
And then, of course, I would say that the Hummer is a heavy-duty truck.
It is a big boy.
Yeah, it's it's wide. It's got the heavy-duty light.
So he had the holy trinity of current electric trucks.
Yeah, and so I was listening to this rousing discussion that they were comparing and contrasting them, and I thought to myself, in real truck terms, right, it would be like comparing a Tesla Model 3 to a Tesla Model Y to a Tesla Model X. Because the 3 trucks don't really compete. Or maybe they do compete. Maybe I'm wrong. But to me, if you're out there shopping for a Tacoma, you're not out there cross-shopping it, let's say, with a Super Duty Ford or a Ram 2500. And in fact, by comparing those 3 trucks, that's what they were doing. And then I told this to Tommy, and he said that because there are so few electric trucks, that people actually might cross-shop a Rivian with a Hummer with a Lightning. So am I off? Is my bone picking wrong, in other words? Will people cross-shop those 3 electric trucks, or should we keep categorizing them in kind of the classic truck terms?
You are wrong, Roman.
Okay, that's fine. I'm good with that.
I'm sorry.
I'm good with that.
I didn't mean to say it that definitively.
No, I'm good with that, dude.
No, here's where I am. I think I'm a little bit more with Tommy.
Okay.
Because right now, those are the only 3. That's true. I mean, the Silverado EV is not out. The GMC EV is not out. Ram EV is not out. Toyota is not doing anything electric right now in trucks, other than their hybrids in the Tundra. So, and when you look at price, I think you should look at price.
Fair.
Because the Hummer is about 112, 115,000. The Rivian could approach 95,000 or 100,000. And of course, the Lightning can approach 85, 95,000 as well.
All right, but what if you look at parking? Which is the way most people live with their trucks.
Yeah.
Specifically parking it in a garage where the Hummer, I had the Hummer and I went to my health club.
Yeah.
And I couldn't park it because it was too tall. I was trying to watch it and it was just scraping underneath.
Can't you like drop the air suspension or?
It
doesn't let you.
I could have dropped the air suspension, but I was worried that I'd forget to drop it. Because when I got back into it from the health club, I would have forgotten to lower it, and then I would have rammed it into like a very expensive water pipe that would have caused all kinds of havoc. So that's what I mean. Like I get that. Let's say all these trucks that we're talking about, they're not traditional trucks, right? You're not buying them for the most part. Except maybe the Lightning, you're not buying them if you're looking for a truck to suit your towing needs or your hauling needs, right? You might be, but for the most part, these are lifestyle trucks. But gosh darn it, when it comes to parking, there's a big difference between a Rivian R1T and a Hummer EV. And you're going to have to park them.
And also, I mean, these
And
three
your wife's going to have to drive them, or your husband's going to have to drive them.
Yeah, so the good thing about the Hummer, it has four-wheel steering, right? It kind of makes it more nimble. So like in a Walmart parking lot, you can actually maneuver the Hummer.
But that doesn't help you. That doesn't shrink it in width.
It doesn't shrink it at all, or height-wise or
Yes.
width-wise.
Yes.
It does not shrink it. But like in the Lightning, actually, when we had the Lightning for a few months here in our fleet, it actually doesn't turn that tightly. It's kind of a big beast. The Lightning truck, as any F-150 would be. And the Rivian is a whole nother animal. Like you said, it's smaller, right? It's a little bit more narrow. And they have different payload, different kind of towing capabilities. I mean, the Lightning and the Rivian are kind of close in towing numbers, at least. But yeah, the Hummer is a whole different animal.
Well, the Hummer is basically an off-road vehicle.
Yeah, and it's also like just
it's a single purpose.
It's a show-off vehicle.
It's a single-purpose off-road vehicle. That's what it was designed to do. That's why I said it would be like comparing a Model 3 to a Model Y to a Model X, right? The Model X is a big family hauling vehicle. I would compare that to the Hummer, and not directly because it doesn't go off-road, but the Ford Lightning doesn't go off-road at all, right? So it does go off-road, but it's not
good at it at all.
It's not good at it,
Yeah.
and the Rivian is good at going off-road.
Yeah.
So I guess maybe I'm wrong, but I'm kind of right in some ways. So
Yeah, no, you're right that there are different classifications of truck, right?
Right.
You're absolutely right there. But I think we need like the Tacoma electric truck to compare to the Rivian. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
And we need the Silverado EV to compare to the Lightning. And we need something else to compare to the Hummer. But they're not here yet.
So let me ask you this technical question. Those classes of truck, and now we have a fourth class, which is, of course, the compact truck, right? The Santa Cruz and, of course, the Maverick. Are those designated officially by, like, the government? Are there classifications where those live in by the government, or are those just manufacturer designated kind of categories?
Well, the government still cares about the gross vehicle weight.
Okay.
That's how they classify vehicles.
So if you're doing by GVWR, then potentially a Rivian is a heavy-duty truck.
Yes. So the way you define the classification 2B,
Yeah.
class 2, lowercase b, is over 8,500 pounds, between 8,500 pounds and 10,000 pounds, like a Ram 2500 would be. Rivian falls in that category.
That's what I said. Yeah, it's a HD truck.
It's heavy.
Yeah, because
it's
of the
heavy.
battery. Yeah.
And the Lightning is in that same boat too. And the Hummer is over 10,000 pounds of gross vehicle
That's
weight.
beyond that boat.
So it's a really brave new world, I would say, that we live in.
All right. Well, I think I've taken up enough of everyone's time with I've got a bone to pick.
Okay.
So let's go and talk about midsize trucks. And once again, midsize trucks, once upon a time, were the smallest category of trucks. Now we have two smaller trucks, which actually aren't going to be new. So there's nothing happening in the compact truck segment.
Well, not yet, at least, right? Well, for 2023, Ford introduced the Maverick Tremor, so
Yes.
they kind of have a little bit more off-roady version. And there's lots of rumors. I cannot tell you how many messages and comments we got about the RAV4 Toyota pickup truck.
I know. I saw all those.
So is Toyota going to have a compact truck? Well, they haven't announced it officially.
Yeah.
But I think to everybody out there listening and viewing, I think it makes sense for Toyota to go there.
Yeah, and then will the Santa Cruz become a hybrid because it's based on the Tucson, which is a hybrid? And to the best of our knowledge, the answer is no. So there won't be a hybrid Santa Cruz to compete with a hybrid Maverick, at least not in this generation.
At least not yet. I mean, they haven't announced it yet.
And I think somebody, and I forget if it was either Tommy or if it was one of the other journalists I was talking to about this. Maybe it was Alex from his YouTube channel. He actually asked Hyundai about it, asked one of the engineers about it, and they said that the Santa Cruz was not engineered, even though it shares the chassis with the Tucson, to have the hybrid powertrain.
Just because of the layout of the vehicle?
Yeah, it's not engineered to do it, so they didn't think that it would have it in this generation.
Well, everybody wants a Maverick hybrid all-wheel drive, because right now the Maverick hybrid exists.
I know.
But it's front-wheel drive only.
I know.
So maybe that's coming. We don't know. But that's a whole new class. I mean, it's a whole new compact segment that we can talk about later.
All right, well, let's talk about what we do know,
Yeah.
which is the 2023 Chevy Colorado and GMC Canyon. We actually know quite a bit about those sister, brother, cousin trucks, whatever you want to call them. So let's go through what we do know.
Yeah, and so the new generation of the Colorado it will come out, like we said, in the first half of next year, 2023. And they're going away with the short cabs, dude. So they're going crew cab, four-door cabs, the entire lineup is going to be crew cab.
Diesel, gone.
Diesel gone. Six-speed automatic gone. Four-cylinder gas engine gone. Now it's a V6 gone.
Gone, yeah. The tried and true V6 is gone.
Yeah,
as
the
well.
3.6 V6 is gone. Now it's all going to be 2.7 liter turbocharged four-cylinder engine in 3 different power levels, right? All the way from 237 horsepower up to 310 horsepower. And what I learned this week, Roman, is that they're going to have 2 separate 8-speed automatics. So the higher horsepower versions of the turbocharged engine will have a different code for that 8-speed. So I'm assuming, and I don't know all the details yet, but they're going to have different ratings on the transmissions as well.
Interesting. I got to tell you, Andre, when I saw those trucks, including the new Bison and Desert Boss, right? Mm-hmm. Was there a Bison? There was a Bison.
The Bison is not announced yet.
No, so it's a Desert Boss.
They're
I'm thinking
calling
of.
this, we have an image here,
The Desert Boss.
they're calling it ZR2 Desert Boss.
Yeah.
So it's kind of the accessorized ZR2. And the ZR2 is coming back, of course.
So I thought they were quite handsome. I actually thought that they did a better job than on some of the vehicles that GM's been designing. I don't want to diss GM, but I think they knocked it out of the ballpark. They're just good-looking trucks. They seem to be kind of modern and both off-roady and on-roady at the same time, which is hard to do when you think about it, right? So the off-road versions feel like they're tailored to be very design languaged to be off-road, whereas the city trucks look elegant and sleek, and here's the thing, right? Here's the rule: if you have a two-wheel drive square body, you slam it, and if you have a four-wheel drive square body, you lift it.
Yes.
And they're two very different things. And in this generation of truck, they both look like they could be slammed or lifted, I guess, and that's not easy to accomplish.
Yeah, and a lot of you commented on the new Chevy Colorado, and actually GMC Canyon has a really different styling to it. But a lot of you said that the new Colorado looks like a Tacoma, and I don't quite agree. I think the front end of the Colorado looks very, just kind of unique in its own way. Maybe the profile with the kind of the doors maybe looks a little bit like a Tacoma. Nathan and I went to the State Fair of Texas, and we saw different versions of the Colorado all next to each other. So we did a video about this. But I do think it's a handsome truck. Take a look.
Yeah, like I say, you can tell like the rugged one next to the kind of trail bossy one next to the city slicker one, and they all really work. When you were next to him with Nathan, was there any buzz around him? Were people looking at him? Did you have a sense of what people thought of the trucks?
Well, we were there on the media day, so
what did the other journalists
There was
think?
nobody there. They didn't have a work truck. That's always where kind of my heart goes to, like more affordable truck. They didn't have one in person, but they did have the Z71. For some reason, their Z71, it's shown in silver, has 20s. Z71 traditionally is an off-road trim, and for some reason they're showing it in kind of a more city orientation. My favorite is actually the Trail Boss. It's kind of a middle of the road. It's not a ZR2. It's not a city truck. It's kind of middle of the road with beefy tires, and they're going to have G80, so the rear, automatic locking differential.
And is the Desert Boss going to have a front locker as well?
Yeah.
Because right now it's the only midsize truck with a front locker.
Well, no. Because the Gladiator Rubicon.
Oh, that's right, the Gladiator.
The Gladiator Rubicon has a front locker.
locker,
So it remains. The ZR2 will remains with a front locker too. So this is very exciting. All the pricing is not quite available yet, so we don't have all the pricing information. But you know what I saw also is that gross vehicle weight ratings will be for some models of the Colorado will be about 6,250, which is good for businesses.
Yeah, in other words, you get that tax discount.
Yeah, so you can get a tax discount for these Colorado trucks as well.
And then how about towing?
Up to 7,700 pounds. So it seems like that's the limit. You know, the new Super Duty came out, right? And they said 40,000 pounds. Let's push it higher and higher and higher. But for Colorado and Canyon, the next generation, I think they're content with 7,700 pounds. And I think why go higher? I mean, if you want to tow more than this, get a full-size truck.
Hey, so before we head over to the Ford Ranger, you don't know about this, but I just got off the phone with Andrew over in Boise, Idaho. And as you know, we've been on the hunt for a cheap full-size truck.
Yes.
So let's talk about this before we get over and move on to the Ranger. So as you know, guys, if you've been watching or listening to this podcast, you know that we bought a Hummer EV, and I'm still feeling mighty guilty about that because $112,000 truck is a lot of money to spend. And I felt like, we should be also bookending that with the least expensive truck that you can buy. So let's go through that process. If you guys are out there looking for a least expensive truck in the full-size segment, not heavy duty, not, once again, midsize, but full-size segment, we know that, you can get a Ford Maverick pretty cheap. But let's say you want a full-size truck and you have the capability of that. The cheapest truck out there right now is a Ram Classic. You want to kind of talk about what a Ram Classic is?
Yeah, a Ram Classic is basically a previous generation Ram 1500.
Yeah, they were supposed to build it for 1 year after the new one came out.
And now it's into its fourth year.
I know, you just keep building both generations at the same time.
Which I think
smart. I think that's smart, actually.
Actually, it turned out to be a really, really super smart thing for Ram because they have multiple factories going, right? When one factory may have, problems with components or shortages, the other factory can kind of maybe step in, and vice versa. So they're building both generations, the new one, the DT generation, and then DS generation trucks at the same time.
So we wanted to buy the cheapest truck, and the cheapest truck right now is a Classic, so a Ram. It's not a Ford, it's not a Chevy, it's not a Titan.
It's not a Toyota either, it's not a Tundra.
And in terms of pricing, they start out, if you were to go to Ram's website, I want a Classic work truck with nothing on it, which is almost impossible to find because the dealers order them and they never order them with nothing on them because they make no money on that. But you would get the Pentastar V6, you would get the short cab, two-door, you would get the long bed, and you would get two-wheel drive.
Yep,
now
that's it.
That truck, if you could find it, which you can't.
We tried.
Is anywhere from like 32, depending on incentives, to maybe $35,000. And so we were looking for that truck, and they're all either white, silver, or black. Even though you can get other colors, like red for free. They don't cost anymore. But,
right. But they're not ordering them.
Yeah, because these are trucks that like Advanced Autos or, pick any of the other parts stores.
Actually, we found one red one.
We did find it.
It was in Minnesota, I believe.
And somebody had ordered
it was sold.
Yeah, somebody custom ordered it for their business.
Yeah.
I'm going to say they had a red business.
I think it was a plumber with a red logo.
Okay, there you go. Yeah.
Okay, there you go.
So we were looking for that truck, and I spent a lot of time looking for it. But at the end, I gave up because I had an epiphany, which was that because we don't keep these trucks for a long time, right? We keep them maybe for 6 months to a year, and then we move. Basically, we take the money we put into them, and we buy the next truck so that we can create more content. So we're not flipping trucks. We're not buying trucks to sell them, but we are buying trucks to create content. But you guys get bored of them, so then we get rid of them. Anyway, so I had this epiphany that we could never sell a two-wheel drive truck in Colorado, which is true.
Which is very true.
Which is very true.
Yeah. Or we could lose money.
Or we'd lose a lot of money. Yeah. You could do it in Florida. You could do it in Louisiana,
Arizona.
But you're not going to do it here in Colorado because first thing that people do when they move here from Louisiana or Arizona is they make it through one winter and they realize they need a four-wheel drive.
Yeah.
So then the truck I thought that would be cool because you could lift it and it would have a good approach, departure, and breakover angle would be to get the two-door short bed with four-wheel drive.
Yeah.
But Ram announced what, Andre?
Well, they announced for 2022 model year, it was going to be the last year of the two-door cab with a short bed. They're discontinuing that configuration. In 2023, Ram 1500 Classic continues, but you couldn't order the short bed anymore.
Yeah.
You had to go with the long bed, which kind of turns it into a really just a work truck, focused on work and nothing, really not much else.
Yeah, I mean, look, at some point when we buy this truck, we don't want to have a little bit of fun with it. We want to create something interesting with it. And if we get the short bed, then we can lift it, right? Because
And it has, good wheelbase, right?
Good wheelbase, yeah. You don't want the long and bad breakover. So we can lift it, and they're pretty unusual, those two-door short beds. So I found one in Boise that the dealer had ordered there.
Okay.
And I just got off the phone with him, and it looks like it arrived not at the dealership, but they ship them by train. They're built in Mexico, and they ship them by train at the whatever they call that, the port or dock, or well, it's not a dock. I'm sure there's a name for it.
How about the
Terminal.
rail yard?
Rail yard.
Okay.
And so now they have to take it from the rail yard to the dealership, and then the dealership has to do the prep. But that truck is going to end up costing us how much? What's the sticker on it? Tell me what the truck has. You know what it has.
Yeah, so I was just looking at it, but we've been waiting for it for several weeks.
We have, yeah, and it was pre-ordered. We couldn't order it because they closed. 2022 order books are closed.
Yeah.
2023 doesn't have that short bed 2-door.
So I was looking at the sticker for this truck. It's at around 41,000,
Which is still
this
a lot.
is before incentives,
Yeah.
and there is some incentives on this truck actually. It's a tradesman with a chrome package. It has
Which
the
I'm not
towing.
in love with. I'm not a big fan of chrome.
Me neither.
How much was that? It was like $500 for all the chrome.
Yeah, it was like $800 for
Whoa.
chrome bumpers and chrome wheels. Maybe we can swap the wheels.
We'll
out.
definitely swap the wheels for
Yeah.
something off-roady.
So we can't change that.
Yeah.
It has a towing package, which is actually great.
Yeah, except it doesn't tow.
Well, that's a different story.
How much does it tow, dude?
I think it's like 5,000 pounds.
Wow.
And that's because of the rear axle.
So this Chevy Colorado, if you configure it right, tows 7,700 pounds, and our full-size truck tows 5,000 pounds with a tow package.
Yes. And that's because it has a rear axle, which is 321-to-1. Long story, but we'll do a video about that. Okay.
yeah.
So you have to be very careful when buying a truck. You have to look at that particular VIN, at that particular truck, and check its towing capability. Because don't let the dealer just sell it to you and say, "Oh, you will tow anything." Just take it.
And actually, Ram makes it easy. They have a VIN decoder where you can take the VIN of any truck and you can plug it in. It'll tell you how much it will tow.
It's on their website,
Yeah, it's great.
ramtrucks.com.
Yeah, it's great.
So that's a really good towing guide. And then it has it does have a hitch in the towing package. It has carpet floors.
Really?
Which was like $700,
Yep.
but that sounds expensive to get carpet floors for that much. And it has another convenience package with keyless entry, Roman. Keyless entry. Our TRX did not have keyless entry.
That always was quite the head scratcher, right? We had this $80,000 truck where we had to use the fob. We couldn't just walk up to it and push the little button.
Yeah. So this is the truck, and it looks like we will have an incentive on it, so we will be paying less than $40,000
Okay.
for it, right?
Yep.
So I'm pretty excited.
I'm hoping, the goal was to find a truck for give or take around $35,000 when it's all said and done before tax. Tax is a whole other thing. But
Yeah.
I thought $35,000 today for a brand new truck with four-wheel drive is a good price.
Yeah, for a full-size truck,
Yeah.
not a Maverick once
Yep,
again.
yep.
So we're looking forward to that. Hopefully we can go up there and get it very soon, and that's going to be pretty amazing.
Yeah, I know. And if all goes well, Andre, we'll be flying out this weekend to go pick it up and then drive it back here. And then we've got some really special plans for it because I've got a fun idea of what we can do with it. I think you guys are going to love it. I don't like to like tease at things because I listen to a lot of podcasts and I hate they're like, oh, we got something coming up, but we
Next
can't tell
week,
you."
yeah.
But this does have to be a surprise because if we spill the beans on it, it won't be as interesting. And I'm super excited because I want to see what you get for mid-30s. And today, with the average new car price being $48,000, do you know what the average new truck price is? Do we know that number?
No, not off the top of my head, but I think it's insane.
I don't think
every
it's-
price is
If the average new car is 48, the average truck has got to be up there too.
probably now in the 50s or something.
I would bet, yeah.
Which is all the prices are still going up, and thankfully there's some incentives now, right, on new vehicles. But usually, they're actually marking up most Super Duties now. Can you believe that? A Works heavy-duty truck is being marked up now at the dealer.
Wow.
So,
Just wow.
I
Yeah.
don't know.
Anyway, so that's why we wanted to get a basic truck and hopefully see what it's like and see if you need all of the bells and whistles. But we do have carpet. I actually would have rather had the vinyl floor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe we can just rip the carpet out.
Because the carpet, now with the carpet, we got to go to WeatherTech and see if we can get some mats, so that we can actually, get it dirty. Because this is going to get very dirty, I think, very dirty.
Yeah, and
with
it
the
does
business
have the
with the
V6.
business plan I have in mind, it's going to get very dirty. All right.
So before we move on, I wanted to show a picture of the GMC Canyon. So if you're watching us,
Nice.
thank you. I think first of all, it's not the same look as the Colorado. It's quite different, and I think it's actually better. What do you think on the Canyon styling?
I like them both in different ways, Andre.
Okay.
So this to me feels a little bit more sophisticated,
Bougie?
a little bit more bougie, whereas the Chevy version feels a little bit more everyman. But they're both good. I think
Yeah.
they did a good job. I think they walked that tightrope between being over and understyled.
And with the Canyon, it's only going to have the high output version of the turbocharged engine, which is 310 horsepower and 430 pound-feet of torque. Once again, 8-speed automatic across the board. I don't know why they didn't go with the 10-speed. My opinion, I think they should have gone with a 10-speed, but it's going to have 8-speed, like we said.
You know, I can see why people say there is a little bit of Tacoma in it. There's a lot of like intersecting lines.
Yeah.
You can kind of see where the very boxy, kind of very horizontal versus vertical kind of lines that go across it are very prominent. So I can kind of see that.
Well, the Tacoma is still king of midsize segment. The October sales numbers came in, and Tacoma sold about 21,000 trucks in 1 month of October.
And I'm kind of getting used to the new design where the headlights really aren't the headlights, right? If you look at it, those top squinty lights, right? Those are actually the
daytime,
marker lights.
yeah.
And then the small, like little squarish, roundy lights are the actual headlights. That's kind
And
of
they're
crazy.
lower,
Yeah.
and they're now lower.
Yeah.
Which is quite interesting.
That's good, and I like the fact that like the middle one has a built-in winch, which is always nice.
Mm-hmm.
I think a winch to a truck, to an off-road truck, is like a spoiler to a sports car, right? Whether you use it or not, it's pretty important because it makes you look very active lifestyle, like you're out there. Matt's recovery, right? You're out there helping people who got stuck in quicksand or something.
Well, you could do it, right?
Do we even have quicksand here? I don't think we have. I don't think we have.
Quicksand.
I don't think we have.
I
quicksand
think I
in America.
found it in Utah once.
Really?
In
Real
a Humvee.
quicksand? Or you could like...
No, in a Humvee. I was drowning.
When I was a kid, I used to watch these Saturday movies where the defining moment was always the hero would fall into
Somebody would walk and just sink.
It's great for movies, right? Because you're slowly sinking and you know you're going to die, and then you get that movie cliche where the hero has to lend a hand to the person stuck in quicksand, and then it's like will they hold on? Will they let go? Will they pull them out? All right, well, that's enough of movie lore. Let's move on to the Ford Ranger. And it's a 2024, Andre. Interesting.
Yeah, this is confirmed by Ford. So I asked them a couple months ago, is the next generation Ranger going to be 2023 or 2024 model year? And they said 2024. And now, of course, the current Ranger, you could configure it online. It's 2023, so that's confirmed. So
here's a weird thing about the Ranger. Just like this generation, right? The Ranger first was introduced in Australia and Europe, and then we got a version of it with steel bumpers because Americans like steel bumpers for some reason.
yes, we do.
At least that's what Ford says.
Strong bumpers.
So and Ford, I'm sure if you ask Ford, so I'm talking to you, Ford, I'm sure the PR department would say that this is an American Ranger and it has very little to do with the European Ranger, but I'm not that sure about it.
So here's an issue. So I have an image here if you're watching us on TFL Talk. This is a prototype that's now on sale. The next generation Ford Ranger Raptor, which looks really, really cool. But there's no surprise anymore. This truck is on sale in Australia, in Asia, and other markets. And when it comes to the U.S. a year from now,
You know what the surprise would be?
What?
If it came with that diesel. That would be a surprise because that's a diesel.
But everybody knows what it looks like. How am I going to be there saying, look at this all-new Ranger, and it's been out for a year?
Surprise, we put the diesel in. And then it's hilarious because like we covet the diesel, and Aussies and Europeans covet our twin turbo.
Our twin turbos. And we can't agree.
We can't agree which is better. I can agree. Look, diesels are great, but I'd rather have the twin turbo because even though it may have more complexity in some ways, Actually, diesels are also very complicated. That's
Yeah, well, with DEF fluid and
yeah, there's a lot of
everything like that.
complexity. It's a lot cheaper in the long run to work on gasoline-powered engines than diesel engines. And diesel engines last long, but God help you if you got to have a mechanic work on it.
But also with a V6, for example, or a straightforward gasoline engine, they have higher horsepower usually.
Yes.
Right, and I think that's kind of what you want in a smaller vehicle. You want to just kind of accelerate quickly. So we don't know much about the next American version of the Ranger, but we do know that it's currently built alongside the Bronco, right? So I think it's going to share a lot with the Bronco. Will it come on 37s? The Bronco Raptor comes on 37s, right, with a 3-liter V6 EcoBoost engine. We haven't seen a Ranger prototype on 37s at all.
So what we're guessing at is either a 2.3 inline-4 turbo, right?
Yes.
Or a 2.7 V6 EcoBoost, or both, depending on the model, with 10-speed standard
Across the
maybe,
board,
across the board, because that's what the current F-150 has. And you're right. Will it have 33, 35, or 37s? Don't know.
Maybe at least 33.
Maybe it'll have all three of them, depending on the Tremor, the regular FX4, and of course the Raptor version.
Yeah.
But you've written in the note, Ford sold 50,302 trucks this year, January to October, and 97,315 Broncos this year. So that's a significant number of trucks and Broncos. And I think Ford is production constrained, if anything.
Yeah, so the reason why I wrote down production numbers for the Ranger and the Bronco, well, first of all, they're at the same factory, right, in Michigan. But the Ranger numbers are down year over year. And I think it's because, like you said, production constraint, right? Everybody wants a Bronco. They're building a lot of Broncos. But, of course, I think the Ranger is struggling because of this.
Now, the one thing I would say about the new Ranger, not the 2024 one, but the current one is, while I like the truck, it's kind of a anonymous truck. It just kind of blends into the background for me. And I don't know if that's because of styling, or I don't know because it's been around a while and I've gotten used to it, but it never I never pops when I'm going down the road and I see a Ranger. I'm never like, oh, wow, that's a cool Ranger. And I don't know, like I say, I'm not trying to diss all you Ranger owners. I just feel like it's in some ways a very conservative design exercise, because they wanted to make it palatable for as many people as possible.
But also, it's been around for a long time, like you said. Yeah. I mean, it came out in Australia and Europe and other markets years ago, and now we got it, right? So I think it's a little bit of both. I think it's been around a lot, and we are used to the way it looks.
Or maybe it's, Andre, maybe it's because I live in Colorado. We live in Colorado, and the Tacoma is such a heavyweight in terms of sales, and people covet the Toyota here, and then when they do get them, they just build them up, right? It's not unusual to see 3 of them with rooftop tents on them, with lifts on them, with
big tires
and bumpers. So maybe, in retrospect, the Ranger is more of the work truck or the everyday truck that you use to commute. Whereas if you're in that mid-sized truck segment here in Colorado, I'm not saying that's true in wherever you live, but here in Colorado, it's a truck you're gonna put a lot of money into, and you're going to create it into your ultimate overlander or off-road or whatever you want in your truck, your dream truck. Whereas the Ranger might be more or less the truck that you then use as a daily commuter or a work truck. I don't know. I'm guessing at that, and that's just my sense from where I live. And I found that a lot of it has to do with where you live.
Absolutely, it's really regional, and I know a lot of people who are also lifting Rangers, right? And at least I see, these folks on Instagram and other social medias.
And that doesn't mean you shouldn't lift it, and doesn't mean it isn't cool when you lift it. I just think this is
different purpose, maybe.
Yeah, it's just Colorado is so I don't know, Tacoma crazy. It's the same thing with Subarus, right? This is like if you're thinking about, I need a basic car to get me to work, winter and summer. Oh, Subaru just comes to mind immediately.
All-wheel drive, affordable, safe.
Exactly. It's just going to be Subaru because that's what my neighbor has, and that's what his neighbor, her neighbor has. That's just how it goes. All right, well, let's jump to the Toyota Tacoma. Now, we were expecting a new Tacoma next year, but it doesn't look like it's going to be until 2024.
Yeah, so 2023 Tacoma's already on sale.
Yep.
It's the same truck with a couple of changes. The prototypes are out. They have been out
I caught one in the high country. Remember, I was right next to it.
Yeah, so I think we've seen a very similar prototype in the high country. You saw it, I saw it. I think everybody else and their brother has seen one now.
And it's interesting because usually when we get them in, when I say high country, I mean like up mountain testing, right? Usually when we see them, there's this cadence that happens, right? So they're up there testing, usually a few months between, let's say, 3 to 6 months before they're unveiled at the auto show, because then they continue testing them even after they're unveiled.
Mm-hmm.
And then, let's say, 6 months to a year later, they hit the dealerships. So we were expecting this new Tacoma to be out already, at least in terms of being unveiled as a 2023, and then for sale sometime next year as a 2023 model. But something, I think, happened at Toyota. Somebody put the brakes on. Or maybe it's much simpler than that. Maybe, because I think this is true, you tell me if I'm wrong, they're selling every Tacoma they can build, so why do you want to rush the new one?
It's the same story as the 4Runner.
Yeah.
4Runner is, did you know, is that true? 4Runner has a 5-speed automatic still?
Yes.
In
We just reviewed
2023?
it. I know.
Okay, so it's the same case with the Tacoma and the 4Runner. They sell everyone they can build. They sold 21,000 Tacomas last month in the U.S. They're very successful no matter what they're doing with the Tacoma. So why redesign it, like you said? But here's the rumor, right? So, well, here's not the rumor. What we do know is that it will share kind of chassis components with the Tundra, right? Because the Tundra has a new platform now. They're going to shrink it a little bit for the Tacoma and use a lot of the same frame, some of the suspension design, just on a smaller scale. And we think, this is my opinion, is that it's going to use a 4-cylinder turbocharged engine that was unveiled in the Highlander recently.
Hybrid? No? Yes? Maybe?
I'm thinking hybrid.
Okay.
I'm thinking hybrid also, but I think it'll have two versions.
Okay.
Right? There has to be an affordable Tacoma, non-hybrid, and I think the hybrid will cost more, but it will be more powerful. It will be, of course, efficient, I hope.
So like the Tundra roadmap.
I think
that,
so, yeah. I think it'll use
TRD Pro hybrid?
I hope so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hope so. But what about the Trail Hunter?
Yes, what about the Trail Hunter? Let's talk about that.
I just saw it in Vegas as a Tundra.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
So this was a surprise to me.
Let's talk about that. So because this might be coming to the Tacoma, tell me about the Trail Hunter.
So the Trail Hunter is a new trim. And here's what Toyota did at SEMA 2022, which is an industry show. I mean, everybody knows about SEMA. They're saying they're positioning Trail Hunter as kind of an overland, long trip, camping trim level. So I almost see it as like a ZR2 Bison type of trim level, which takes an off-road truck and adds suspension for kind of heavier payloads. They're going to have a lot of accessories, including bed racks, tents, bumpers, with tow hooks on the Tundra.
So if you want to see that vehicle, go to alltfl.com and you can see it there. Andre did a video from SEMA. And keep going. I let people know where they can see it.
Yeah, and I asked Toyota, I was like, is this up on top of the Pro, right? TRD Pro obviously will still be there. They said, not really. It's going to be, according to Toyota, it's going to be kind of a two-headed approach. The Pro is going to be more for fast speed off-roading. You know, it has the Fox shocks. It has kind of a fast off-road character. Then this Trail Hunter trim is going to be for slower, you know, kind of a rock climbing or rock crawling, or also long driving, overland driving. So Trail Hunter.
So I read the comments that people had on your video, and a lot of them thought that they had under-tired it. I hate that. That's a funny word, under-tired.
You know what sells it under-tired is Tacoma prototype.
Right, because they gave it a lift, and yet the wheels were, 33
Barely.
tires? Yeah.
Yeah, but by the way, they said this is a concept.
Right, okay.
So don't read everything into it. They had, I believe they had Icon shocks underneath it. So different shock technology.
I'm gonna be kind here.
Yes.
Because I'm in a kind mood. But the comments were not positive, Andre. You know, like I remember when the Warrior concept came up for the Nissan. Remember, you can tell
every comment.
Yeah, every comment was like, "Build it, take my money." And this one, everybody was like, "It's a Tundra on stilts."
And also people
I'm not
commented.
saying it is. I'm just saying that you read the comments and that.
Yeah, and they didn't announce pricing, but I'm assuming this is not going to be cheap.
No.
Right, because you're modifying your chassis. But what I like about the concept of the Trail Hunter is that Toyota is taking a holistic view right? It's a factory built. This is not something that happens at the dealership, right? You're not adding bumpers at the dealership or lifts. This comes from the factory this way. You order it with whatever equipment you want. The suspension is designed for heavier weight. I like that concept. I just hope they price it right. I hope that, like you said, the tire matches the truck.
So here's my belief when it comes to, like, if you want to have street cred, and I'm talking to you, Toyota, Nissan, Chevy. Actually, I'm talking to all three of you guys, and this is what I've kind of gathered from the comments and from putting my finger in the wind and seeing it where it's blowing. If you want to have street cred in the off-road truck world, there are three things that determine, like, the halo truck, right? The three things are relatively straightforward. First and foremost, it's got to have different design language. So wider, bigger, taller, muscular, right? That's pretty straightforward. Then you got to have better suspension. So, I think you got to either have active suspension or you got to have something that is, built by King or
something
Fox.
badass.
Yeah, reservoir shocks, right? Something with a lot of travel. And then the third and most important thing, which ZR2 doesn't have, is you got to up the horsepower. So now we're talking Raptor, we're talking TRX, right? And when you create and build this halo truck, which then becomes the halo, right? The light that shines on the rest of your product field, then you can go and fill in the rest of the spaces. Then you can create the Tremor version if you're Ford, then you can create the Trail Boss. But if you're trying to build it the other way, where you're kind of working your way up the scale, you get a lot of pushback because people feel like, I want to buy something from a brand that has these, it's like Porsche does the GT3 or the GT3 RS, Chevy has the Corvette, right? So if you want to be taken seriously now, you got to have this halo truck. And the problem with the Trail Hunter, especially with the name, is that if you put a Trail Hunter up against a TRX or, God help you, a Raptor R or even a Hummer EV, it's going to be left in the dust, right? Because it doesn't have the power.
It doesn't
plant.
have the 1,000 or 700 horsepower, right?
Right, and I'm not saying that people won't buy it. I'm not saying that there aren't a lot of Toyota fans out there who will think that this is a top dog. But in the kind of the bigger ethos of things, if you want to compete on that scale, then you got to go big, and then you can go smaller.
I agree, and for maybe a slightly different reason. I was talking to several dealers, and what I think dealerships like is to put that halo truck in the front, right? You put a TRX in front of your Ram dealership, and it catches attention. It's big, it's wide, right? People know it has a supercharged engine, and it brings people in, even though they may not afford the TRX. Maybe they don't need it, but it creates excitement, right? And GM has put a supercharged V8 into an Escalade, but they haven't put a supercharged V8 into a Silverado. So I think that was a missed opportunity on Chevrolet's part.
Yeah, and I don't know how much it costs to create that kind of, halo vehicle, right?
It's not cheap.
It's not cheap.
I mean, if you look at the Raptor R development, how much time and money they spent.
But I think, you're going to put money into advertising, and if you look at it as an advertising I don't want to use the word gimmick because it's not a gimmick. Let's call it an advertising exercise, right? And take some money out of the advertising budget and put into that. I think it does serve the manufacturer well. And for a long time, I think Ford led the way with the Raptor, and then Ram got into the game with the TRX, and now Ford is doing the Raptor R. I think these manufacturers, if they want to play in that world, especially in the full-size truck, let's face it, look, the Toyota Tacoma owns a mid-size truck segment. They've got that. They do, right?
They know how to do that.
Yeah, they sell over 200,000 units a year.
Yeah.
They own that space, but they're not. They're in fourth place when it comes to full size trucks. And for some reason, the plan. I'm not saying that they want to be third or second or first, but I do think that they want to sell a lot of trucks. The plan that they've been following, which is relying on reliability to sell more Tundras, is not the same. And is not working as well as what Ford and Ram are doing. Because let's face it, those two are really kind of leading the way.
I think they're gaining market share.
When it comes to these Halo trucks.
Yeah. As long as you could produce enough trucks, right? Ford ran into this problem.
It doesn't matter how many you produce, though. Because look, I think the Raptor R is already. We just got an email from somebody who's paying $35,000 over sticker.
Yeah,
And people are paying $50,000
yes.
over sticker on
No,
the
but
Hummer
what I
EV.
mean is there's a field of Super Duties and F-150s waiting for components.
Yes.
Right, and
Like
people who
Ford logos.
and Ford logos. So people who ordered their trucks and they're excited about their new truck cannot get the new truck, which is a problem. But it's a different problem.
But how about in terms of like money? I bet you that Ford makes a lot more money selling a Raptor or a Raptor R than they do selling even a regular Ford F-150 Platinum.
Well, yeah, if you look at the Raptor R price, it's $109,000.
And so do the dealers. So
Yes.
there's going to be this natural progression of, that's why we're buying a $35,000 truck, but there's going to be this natural progression of people selling, not people, but manufacturers and dealerships wanting to sell these ultimately expensive trucks until the whole house of cards comes falling down when the economy goes bad, which is probably something that will happen. I kind of feel like we're on the precipice of that, but that's a whole different conversation. Hey, so before we get on to the other two trucks that we have on this list, let's talk about Patreon.
Yes, we love your support on patreon.com. Patreon.com/TFL Car is our only page and supports the entire old TFL community and network, all of us. So I really appreciate your support. I have been following your comments and questions. I don't have any new ones right now. Do you see any?
Do you want to read that one? Because I think that one kind of cuts to the heart of it from Don. What's his last name?
Don Megahan.
Yeah, we just got this one from Don, and I actually wanted to talk about this because it is something that I think we need to kind of air out. Let's air out this because he's right. So why don't you read the comment, and then let's talk about why we decided to take an old truck and electrified.
Yes, so this is from Don. Thank you, Don, once again for your support and your comment. I see you have not gotten as many views on your new electric F100 project as I'm guessing you wish you had. Maybe you can do come off-road comparisons against the Hummer or others. Please maybe do some drag races. Those videos always get views. So basically what Don is saying, he knows we have a project, F100 electric.
Yep, the Chargezilla, as you named it.
We called it Chargezilla, and we are publishing it on TFL EV. You could see it all there, alltfl.com, once again. And the second episode we'll publish in a few days.
Yeah, so basically the first sentence, he's right. We're like, I think the first one got, we live and die by views here because that is a representation of how popular you think or how well received the video is. And of course, the more views, the more successful that video is because we get paid by views, of course, based on advertising. So when we have a video on a video series that we put a lot of love and care into and it doesn't do very well, and 17,000 views for us is not very well. I look at anything under 50,000 views. And Andre, you worked your butt off. We partnered with a couple of companies to actually make this happen.
And they worked their butts off.
They worked their butts off. So let's talk about the companies.
Yeah, so Legacy V is basically a company that can help you, anybody, come up with an electric kit to electrify anything. You can electrify a Ford, a Chevy, a Ram, anything. VWs, Porsches, etc.
So Legacy EV was one
Legacy
of our
EV.
and the other partner was
101motors.com. They're based in Mesa, Arizona. 101 Motors is partially a dealership, partially a customizer and builder. They build Hemi-powered Jeeps. And they're very, very skilled, and they were actually doing the work on this truck.
All right, so let's talk about the comments that we've gotten and the reality of the situation.
Also Fox Shocks.
Oh, Fox Shocks, yes.
Fox Shock.
They did the shock sports, so thank you, Fox. Yeah. So let's talk about the reality of it as well as the perception. And we're in the making movies in some ways business. I mean, we are journalists, but at the same time, I think we're very close to film magic.
Well, we like to have fun, entertainment.
We like to have entertainment, yeah. But so here is the magic part of it, and here's the reality part, right? When you buy that truck, and it's got an old Ford Straight 6 in it.
And a 4-speed manual.
And a 4-speed manual, and you put it up, and it's lifted. It's basically somebody built a 4-wheel drive kind of
Kind of a work truck slash
Yeah.
fun truck, right?
Yeah, it was kind of a hybrid between a heavy duty and a full size truck, right? It was a farm truck slash work truck.
And it wasn't two colors, it
Yeah.
was green, it was orange.
But it looks cool because it obviously was green originally and then the orange faded. So when you buy that truck and you make a video, you feed into this nostalgia that people have for old trucks. And when you see us driving it either on dirt or on road, and you see us actually doing things with it, like taking it to David's Ranch, it creates kind of a movie vehicle mystique around the thing, which means it takes all those kind of conceptions that you guys have in your head, the melancholy, the love that you have for America, all the films you've seen with old trucks, and it kind of amps that up. So it makes this really wonderful video where the perception is that this is just a really lovely bit of Americana, and we're kind of driving the love that people have for not just trucks but for the country and for nostalgia, right?
Yeah.
So that's the perception, and we understand that very well. The problem is that that's not the reality, right? The reality is that truck, the way we got it, was a tractor. Literally, it was a tractor.
Let me give an example,
Okay.
or a couple of examples,
Yeah.
right? So you and Tommy purchased it, right?
Yes.
You found it on Craigslist.
Yes.
I think immediately you jumped in the car.
Yes, and you went to get it, yeah.
And you went to get it because
During a major snowstorm.
yeah, you fell in love with it,
Yeah.
right? Instantly online.
Yeah.
And you bought it basically right there on the spot.
Yeah, we paid $6,500 or $7,000.
Yes.
I forget. Yeah.
$6,500, I think, was
Yeah.
the price originally for this 1965 Ford F100. And then Tommy, on the way back, the heater broke.
The heater core
Broke, exploded.
Yeah.
There was coolant dripping on his feet
Yes.
as he was driving. He couldn't see.
Yeah, because there was steam coming out of it.
the steam coming out of it. It was very dangerous. This truck barely stops. The brakes are completely, just awful single-cylinder brakes booster.
Yeah.
I'm just thankful he got home. Okay.
Yeah, without flying through the front windshield and having his face ripped off, because that's not safety glass in the thing, as I recall.
And also a steel dashboard. There's
Yes.
no airbags.
Right?
Nothing.
You've got basically a spear for a steering wheel.
A steering column is a spear. Not a lot of space. Okay. But we still fell in love with it, right? A second example. So we've had it for a couple of months. Toby helped us improve it, right?
Yes.
We fixed the heater core. We fixed some of the brake issues because he went through it and actually added a emergency brake as well. But then it just sat because it was so hard to drive.
It's a tractor. It's a great tractor from 1965. In other words, if you
You could deliver hay in or something.
if you had a farm in 1965 and you wanted to work on your farm or your ranch, this would have been a great vehicle. If you wanted to listen to a country song about dirt roads, this would have been the vehicle. But the reality of actually driving it in modern traffic and living with it is we had the same problem with the Scout. We bought a 1962 Scout, and that thing shook, rattled, and rolled so much that you felt like it was going to fall apart on you. You've got a straight six Ford, which is dead reliable, but which puts out like 12.5 horsepower, Andre. Seriously, this thing will do 55 miles an hour, but it feels like the world is coming to an end.
Yeah.
It's that dramatic. So then it's like a Model T. The reality of a Model T is if you buy a Model T, there's one and only one use for it. You know what that is?
Cars and coffee?
Not even that. You don't never see it. I wish it was cars and coffee. I've very rarely
seen one. That's
Very
why I said
rarely
it.
seen maybe. Okay, so 1.5. I'll give you a 0.5. It's a parade. 4th of July.
You go down the boulevard?
You start the Tin Lizzy and you take it and you throw candy to the kids, and everybody's like, wow, it's a Model T. But in real world, it's not usable. And the problem with that truck was it wasn't safe, it wasn't powerful, it wasn't usable. And yes, our video kind of did play upon the nostalgia, but in real world terms, you said it right. It sat here in front of our office.
For months.
Yeah, because there was nobody who was going to want to drive it. Right? There was,
and by the way, Tommy is an old soul. He loves old metal.
He does.
Case is an old soul, loves old metal. Many of us really love older vehicles. None of us drove it. It was really hard to find third gear, or because you start in second and then you go to third because it has a granny glow, right? Almost impossible to find third, and just rattles and just shakes.
And this is where kind of we live at this weird intersection between like entertainment and consumer buyer reviews, right? So entertainment-wise, incredible truck, right, for making videos because it's cool, it's fun, it taps into all this old nostalgia that people have. But as a vehicle that you would actually drive or use or somehow make use of, there was nothing we could do with it. So we thought, well, why don't, and I don't like, actually, I'm not a big fan of electrifications in some ways because when you electrify something, what you're doing is you're taking it out of the time capsule, right? And you're locking it into two different time zones, right? So let's say you have a classic car, and the beauty of a classic car is that when you get in it, you feel like you're back in the day when that thing was built, right?
You smell the interior.
You feel like let's say it's like we had that Mustang, and you feel like you're back in the '80s, right? with Miami Vice and all the Eagles and Don Henley, right? Girls of Summer playing whenever that was on. You feel like you're back in that time, and it's wonderful. And the problem is when you electrify it today, you make it this weird monster vehicle that has that classic car interior and time capsule effect, but a modern powertrain. Mm-hmm. And so it's not quite a time capsule and it's not quite modern. So it's got the downsides of the classic vehicle, which is it's still not very safe. It's still,
shaky and rattly.
It's shaky and rattly, but it loses some of that kind of cool nostalgia where you got to go, and it starts up. You lose all that. And then the other problem becomes if you move forward in time, even though you're making it modern with the electrification, I'm betting that 10, 20, 30 years from now, the batteries are going to be much better, and the stuff we're putting into it today is going to look pretty ancient and old.
It's like iPhone 1.0.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's my problem. But the fact was this truck was such a tractor that we thought, hey, let's actually make it usable and drivable for somebody who wants to actually be able to use it on a daily basis as opposed to just have it sit in the garage and come out on the 4th of July.
And we wanted to breathe new life into it, and that's what the series is about, Chargezilla. First episode was about kind of showing the truck and introducing the project. The second episode that's coming in a couple days is going to be the build. Yeah,
but we're getting, once again, electrification has become political, and now the reason that people aren't watching it is because the comments, are very typical. Like you took something that was classic and cool and made it into something that was stupid and dumb. And we understand those comments, but classic and cool and usable are three different things.
Vehicles cannot be museum pieces for us.
For us, yeah, exactly.
There has to be moving.
I agree.
A vehicle is about motion. So if this truck wasn't moving, we now got it to move.
Yeah, and then the other, quite honestly, the other reason we did it was because Legacy EV said that when they're done with this thing, they're going to donate it or auction it. I think they're talking about
scholarships,
auctioning it off at Barrett-Jackson, and the money's going to go to a worthy charity. So we donated the truck basically to them to electrify, so that the money, instead of sitting in a parked truck in front of our offices, will help go to the next generation of people who want to work on vehicles. So that felt like a win-win. And unfortunately, the concept that we had didn't translate into reality in terms of kind of views and people getting excited by what we did to it or what Legacy did to it.
But can I do a but?
Yes, please.
TFL EV, we have 8 channels.
Yes.
So if you want to see heavy-duty trucks towing, go to TFL Truck.
Yeah.
If you want to see details about electrification, go to TFL EV. So what I'm hoping is this project can do is, yes, 17,000 views or 20,000 views is not a lot, but I'm hoping it runs deep. Right, the 20,000 people who watched it really, were interested in it, and hopefully it creates some ideas, new battery technologies, new motors, whatever it may be, new, interpretations of this. I'm really hoping that runs deep and it inspires other people to innovate.
And it did make it drivable. I mean, it took a very slow and ponderous tractor and made it into something that could keep up with traffic.
And if you think, we're just saying that, I drove it from Tumbleweed to David's Ranch. That's about 35 miles. I didn't use the brake once, by the way.
Yeah, and then
it's got regen.
The other cool thing is we had it over here at the Overland Expo, and people kind of walked up.
People were flocking to it from everywhere.
And then when they saw that, under the hood was no power, they were like, wow, that's cool. So there are people who appreciated the fact that, we gave an old vehicle new life and had it moved down the road so that it still has more usefulness than sitting in some field rotting away into a lawn art.
Yes.
Which is where it was going, unfortunately. All right, let's finish this up. We're kind of running out of time. 2024 Jeep Gladiator, Andre. Anything new?
We don't know. I'm really hoping they can update maybe the powertrains.
4xe version.
Yeah, we don't know. So there's a big
Hybrid.
Controversy
Yeah.
about plug-in hybrid powertrains in trucks, right?
Right.
Our friend Tim Esterdal recently did a video about this too. A lot of us have been arguing about this, and I came to this maybe a similar conclusion to Tim's, is that...
What's the controversy first?
Is it good? Is it a good next step?
Hold on. So there's two kinds of hybridization. So the Tundra is a mild hybrid. So it's got a small battery, I don't know, let's say 1 kilowatt hour, 1.5. And basically it's used to give it more torque and give it a little bit better fuel economy.
Yeah, but you have to be careful when you use the word mild hybrid. I would say Tundra and the F-150 hybrids are hybrids because you can use for limited mile, like 1 or 2 miles or whatever, electric power only. So it can run on both.
So are you talking about plug-in hybrids now?
Now I'm talking about plug-in hybrid.
Okay.
Because 4xe in the Jeep world is a plug-in hybrid where the battery is larger.
So then you have like a 30 kilowatt hour battery.
Yeah.
I think it's 17 in the Jeep. 17 kilowatt hour battery, and then it gives you like anywhere from 20 to 25 miles of all electric range. You plug it in, it charges up, and then once the battery dies, you can power it with a traditional internal combustion engine.
So you're adding weight and complexity to a vehicle that's already there, right? So they have the Grand Cherokee plug-in hybrid 4xe. They have a Wrangler 4xe plug-in hybrid. And everybody's saying, will the Gladiator be plug-in hybrid? And we don't know yet. They haven't announced it yet. But I'm wondering if this is good, right? I mean, is that a great next step? Because you're adding complexity, you're adding weight, so you're subtracting payload, potentially. You're subtracting towing, potentially. So is it good for the truck?
It would seem like the best solution for the towing problem, which is electric trucks don't tow very far, is to have a plug-in hybrid, because then you get the best of both worlds or the worst of both worlds, depending if you believe the glass is half full or half empty. But with a plug-in hybrid, you could potentially get long towing range.
And regen, right?
And then when you just want to putt around town, you could do it on electricity.
So I think this argument is still playing out. Obviously, we don't have a plug-in hybrid truck of any kind.
So Ram might be the first one.
Maybe, but Toyota is really great at this. I mean, they have the Prime RAV4, they have the Prime Prius Prime. They have been doing hybrids for decades. So if anybody can do it, Toyota can do it.
But the reason I said Ram is because Ram doesn't even have a hybrid truck, let alone an electric truck. So there's space in the market for Ram to come.
Them, yes.
And I say Ram, it could be Jeep. I'm talking about Stellantis now. I should be more specific in my language. Stellantis has this opportunity where they could become the first plug-in hybrid truck, be it midsize, full size, or heck, heavy duty. Why not?
Yeah.
Why not?
So we don't know. The Jeep Gladiator is currently available with a gas V6 and a turbo diesel, eco-diesel V6 still. That's available for just a few more months. And the manual transmission is still available in the Gladiator.
All right, well, let's wrap this up. We're running out of time. How about the Honda Ridgeline? So the bit of news that I have, of course, is that I just got to see the new Pilot, which shares the platform with the Ridgeline, and they've upped the gear by 1, Andre. Now it has a 10-speed.
From 9 to 10?
9 to 10. And it's got a brand new all right, so Honda calls it a brand new V6, 3.5 liters, 285 horsepower. I think it's 262 pound-foot of torque, if I remember right. And so, it's the same basic specs as the old one, but Ram says the internals of the engine are all new. So will that powertrain make it to the Ridgeline? I think so. I mean, it would make sense.
It makes sense because they're talking about efficiency too.
Yeah.
And the Ridgeline, by the way, is getting more and more popular. It's just kind of like this. It was on the radar for a long time, but now they're selling almost 4,000 Ridgelines a month. So they're almost selling as many trucks as Ford Rangers.
Yeah, so the Ridgeline is classically the truck that everybody needs but nobody wants.
That issue.
It's always been the rub, right? It's got the best ride in some ways of any midsize truck. It's got the best ergonomics, right? Super just comfy, both front and rear row. It's got some very clever engineering with that tailgate that opens up both horizontally and vertically. It's got that built-in giant trunk underneath the
bed is a speaker. You can play music.
The bed has a speaker. Yeah. It's got a ride of. It basically rides like a crossover. Like if you didn't know there was a bed behind there, you wouldn't suspect. And it's fast. It's freaking fast.
Yeah.
There are some downsides. When we tested the last midsize truck shootout we did, which was a long time ago now, the transmission did overheat when we went off-road with it.
Yeah, because we're moving slowly.
That's not our fault. What are we supposed to do?
No, it's not our fault. But they do have really excellent all-wheel drive, but the transmission may have issues. But that was an old transmission, of course. That was a 6-speed, I believe. And also not enough ground clearance, Roman. I mean, the chin on the ridgeline is really low.
It is. I don't think that those things have changed with the Honda Performance Development, right? HPD version, which is cool. It looks cool. It's got those kind of funky wheels and, more, I'm going to say off-road appearance tires because the tread is still not off-roady. But now this is another thing we can talk about. With the new Pilot, they've actually put real ATs on it. They've put, get this, Andre, recovery points and skid plates. So if they're doing a trail version,
trail sport, right?
Version of the Pilot, how much of a stretch would it be to have a trail sport or whatever they want to call it of the Ridgeline?
I think it's very natural. I think Honda, you should do that fast. Build up on momentum. They have momentum with the Ridgeline. Build on the momentum and sell more.
All right, well, there you guys have it. You've wasted another hour listening to my babble and Andre's astute commentary.
Oh, I don't know about that.
And we really appreciate that you guys tune in. Check out alltfl.com if you want to stay on top of not just, the truck world, but, of course, the car world, where Tommy's doing the classics and where Case is doing motorcycles and where, I'm hopefully living somewhere in between all that. We'd love to have you guys come and check all that out. And a special thanks to our Patreon members who actually make this podcast possible.
Yeah, and thank you for bringing that comment or a question from Don.
Thanks, Don. We appreciate it.
Really good.
See you guys next time. Ciao.
Thank you, guys.